Hitler was associated with a lot of Christian groups at the time.
Well, they weren't Christian. That's all I'll say. They weren't Christian.
They were Christian under their ideas.
And there are, not going to this, but there are many so-called Christian groups that support this. They're not Christian. Just because you say Christian means nothing in America. It's Jesus said you'll know them by their fruits. But I get what you're saying. But they weren't Christian.
They said they were. And,
well, a lot of people.
Here's the thing: if they're like, "Hey, this is what God's telling us," then who's to say that those people won't start following them?
Well, we go by the Bible, and
people are going by the Bible.
Well, no, they're
things like that.
I talked to a guy this past Saturday night who came out of a bar so drunk he could barely stand up straight. So he was a Christian. He was actually leaning against me at one point. He could barely stand up. Took God's name in vain, several foul words. Said he was a Christian. I'm like, you're drunk as a skunk. Why do you think you're a Christian? And I dealt with people like that regularly. People who say they're Christians and live like the devil.
I think the Bible isn't very specific then, because there's so many different denominations of Christianity. I don't think the Bible's an accurate source to figuring out what's moral then.
Well,
if there's so many people doing all these different things and falling into all these different situations, you're like, false prophet this, false prophet that.
Yeah.
Well, how do you prove that your specific thing is the specific thing? How do you know that you're not falling into the same thing that everyone else is? Because everyone believes that they are following God in a sense. How do you know you're wrong? How do you know that they're not right? How does anyone know? Because the Bible does not actually, people cherry pick from the Bible.
I deal with those people all the time. Well, what I can say is the Bible is crystal clear on these things, baby murder and homosexuality. Could not be more clear.
On slavery.
What's that?
The Bible is crystal clear on slavery.
And it's actually clear enough to where slaveholders, they removed most of the Bible and created a very perverted version of the Bible that they took out.
They took it from the Bible.
They actually took out 90% of the Old Testament, half the New Testament, and gave that to their slaves.
By man, that we don't have the original copy, therefore we can't.
We don't need the original copy. If we had the original copy, we might worship it like we do other things.
If we had the original copy, then we'd be able to trust it. This is not trustworthy.
Well,
it's cherry picked and it's manipulated.
Well, if we had the original copy, then how do you? Because if you just have one copy, who's to say someone didn't pervert that? But we have over 20,000 manuscripts.
All of the Bibles are manipulated to say a specific thing by what man wants.
Not actually like.
Real. I believe that man has taken different things and have changed it from the original, and it is no longer just like a thing of like, it's not a word from God. It is a word from man.
You trust something. So what do you trust?
I trust probably the scientific. What is it? I don't know.
But it's like we all trust something. Question is, why do you trust that source or those sources?
I trust the scientific process because it's always being challenged, and they never come up with a single conclusion. They only work with the evidence that they have to adapt that conclusion based on what they have.
And you trust them? Why?
Yes, because they're actually working to find a truth rather than just picking from a really, really old text that has been manipulated over and over and over.
Well, that's a claim that people say it's been manipulated. Well,
it has. You just said that it wasn't the original and that man has.
You don't need the original. I think it may be good that we don't have the original, because then we'd probably just worship that and set it up and people bow down to it like they do Mary.
Well, I'm saying that that's not God written then.
Well, you assume that, then that you have faith in that, and I believe that God is perfect and He can.
I don't think that God's real, so yeah, I think.
Well, you know He is. Romans chapter 1 says you do.
No, I don't.
Well, I mean, you don't have to believe.
The Bible says that I do doesn't mean that I do.
Well, I'm going to take God at His word that everyone knows.
I don't take God at His word because He lied. He was the first liar.
When's God ever lied? The Bible's.
In the start with Adam and Eve, He said that the tree would kill them. They did not die.
Did He mean physically or spiritually? Because they did die.
No, because they went to heaven, so they didn't die spiritually either.
No. Well, they.
And they lived for a
They actually did die physically.
Many children.
They did die physically.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't have died if they had obeyed Him. And that's why we all die, because we've all sinned. And that's every time you see someone die, it's because of sin. Plain and simple.
I wasn't here to talk about the Bible. Actually, I was going to ask if you watched season 2 of Has Been Hotel.
Watch what?
Has Been Hotel.
What's that?
Has Been Hotel, the indie series.
I try to stay away from TV.
I thought you'd like it. It's about like heaven and hell and redemption and stuff. It's really
if it's coming from Hollywood or just on TV, I mean, won't be opposed to watching some just to see how it compares to the Bible, but
it's not like an accurate description of the Bible. It's just like,
I wouldn't trust it would be.
Who's in hell could be redeemed, you know, and the system could be changed, and people can be like good and stuff, even if they don't believe in God.
No, they're not good. The Bible says that they're not,
well,
that they can't be good.
Again, it's not accurate to the Bible. I was just wondering if you watched it.
Yeah,
it's
no,
a good show.
No,
I think that people can be good without believing in God, and I think that they don't deserve to go to hell because of that. And I think that those people, if they are being sent to hell when they don't believe in God, that is immoral on God's part. Why are you?
Well, what standard do you have for any of that?
Why are you condemning someone to eternal?
I'm not condemning them. God is.
I know. I'm saying that as like a thing to God generally, but I don't have. There's no God, so.
Well, okay. Without God, what standard do you have to say anything that's evil or immoral?
Huh?
Without God, what standard do you have to say anything is immoral?
I have my own standard of morality.
It's pretty subjective.
Yes, morality is subjective. There is no objective morality.
So rape's okay?
No.
Wait, are you sure about that? You just said
Yes.
it's all subjective.
Well, according to the Bible, that rape is okay. He said that if a woman is raped by a man, that she has to marry the man who raped her.
Where is that in the Bible?
I believe it's somewhere in Old Testament. I don't remember the verses exactly. I don't have like a whole thing.
Actually, the Bible calls for the death penalty. The Bible calls for the death penalty for the rapist in that passage.
Are you sure about that? Because I'm pretty sure that they said to marry the rapist.
Well, the case you're talking about is not rape. It's seduction. That's not the same thing. It's not rape. Right before that, the guy who rapes the girl, he's put to death. So the Bible calls for the death penalty for rapists.
They also call for the death penalty.
As well as for men stealers.
They also call throwing at stones at a lot of people for things that they didn't do. Well, the Old Testament has slavery, which means that he'd also still abide by slavery.
What's that?
Slavery. Jesus is still okay with slavery because he says that he's,
So what kind of slavery are we talking about here?
We're talking about the kind of slavery where there is someone who, it's not indentured servitude, but it's like they are owned as property, and you were able to beat them, you were able to use them as sex slaves, and if they have children, I believe the children are also yours, and you can give them to your children and stuff. That's in the Bible.
So where's all that in the Bible?
Old Testament.
Where in the Old Testament?
I don't know specific passages, dude.
Have you researched that?
I've heard the passages said many, many times by other people, and they reference it directly.
Well, I have too. I can
get a Bible and I can go find it, but like
because I'm not saying you're doing this or trying to do this, but there are people that do this. They've done it with me over the years, like that because a lot of people bring up accusations that, well, God said this. Well, go look at the passage, and not just the passage, but like the context of it, and see like what was God saying here.
He's saying that you're able to beat the slave, and that there's a separate thing for Hebrew slaves and other slaves from other nations, but like it specifically said, you may buy slaves from the I believe it was heathens around you, and they should be your property. So yeah.
But even with all that, like, why is any of that wrong? If there's no God?
Wrong?
Well, why is anything wrong if there is no God? Why is anything wrong?
I think that slavery is wrong. God said that slavery is good.
Well, indentured servitude, he regulated that.
It is regulation of slavery doesn't make it any better. But indentured
servitude. Just get that. Like it wasn't American slavery.
It was older slavery, and it was still justified in the Bible, and there were specific rules given.
Yeah, to regulate it because it wasn't ideal.
You can just say, don't do this. He said, don't eat shellfish. He said, don't wear mixed fabrics. He said, don't do this, don't do that. And
well, that was all for a specific.
Don't do slavery.
That was all for a specific culture, like don't eat shellfish, don't wear mixed fabrics. That was for those specific people in that specific time, and Jesus came to fulfill the law that we're no longer under the old covenant.
Do slavery?
What's that?
Can he not say don't do slavery? Yeah, it is.
Well, not all like types of slavery are wrong. Like you have slavery even today. You have what?
I disagree that slavery is wrong.
You disagree that slavery is wrong?
No. I disagree that slavery is wrong, and I don't think that any slavery today is right.
Well, what about employees? There's, I mean, they choose to be employees, but they're still slaves. They're a slave for a paycheck.
That's not slavery.
Well, it says like it's like
There's-
what type of slavery?
Slave and get paid.
What's that?
You can't be a slave and have a paycheck.
It says who?
Well, slavery.
Not slavery.
Yeah, no, that's just like that is a very different system to slavery. You cannot be comparing the two.
Or you be,
There is slavery in prisons. I do know that, and I disagree with that as well.
I'm still like apart from God, it is all subjective. Like professing atheists.
Even God's thing's subjective. There's so many people who read the Bible and then there's no objective morality. They take bits and pieces and
Says
create
who?
their own version
Actually,
of
God's very
morality.
objective. The Ten Commandments, God's law.
No, that's still subjective.
Based on according to who?
Because
God's law.
not real.
What?
God is not real.
Okay, that's your
Evidence
opinion.
That God is real and that God has.
That's your
objective
opinion. And
No, it's not just opinion. I don't have evidence.
yeah, well, you have plenty of evidence.
No, I do not.
You have creation evidence that there's a
I
creator.
wouldn't be atheist.
What's that?
If I had plenty of evidence, then I wouldn't be atheist.
No, you still, well, I said, what? You're not an atheist, you're professing atheist. That
What?
you
No,
know
I
there's a
am an
God,
atheist.
but you suppress the truth and unrighteousness. And Romans 1 says that, and you're without excuse.
What?
Can I read to you from the Bible?
No, can you just explain what you said in a non-poetic way?
I wasn't trying to be poetic. You're-
Just rephrase it.
You're suppressing the truth and unrighteousness, and you are without excuse. That's what the Bible says in Romans 1.
My excuse is that, well, it's not an excuse, but I don't have enough evidence to believe in a God.
The evidence is
So I
there.
am an atheist.
Do you have evidence to believe that any of these buildings had a builder?
Yes, because we can actually show that there are builders in the real world.
Well, you don't need to see the builder. You know that buildings don't make themselves build
We can look
themselves.
at architecture, like we can look at blueprints. We can talk to some of the architects, and we can like look at books that they've made. You know, we understand that buildings are made by builders. We do not understand that there is a designer for the universe.
Well, so do you believe that nothing created everything?
I don't know the answer to that
Okay.
because I don't have enough evidence to make a claim on how the world started.
Well, I mean, none of like,
You're making a claim based on a book that was written.
well, and common sense that I don't believe that.
Common sense is not. Don't shoot common sense. There can be a million people who think that it's common sense to fucking like, I don't know, eat poop. You know, that, like,
Well, I think
common sense is like, oh yeah, I want to eat my own shit. You know, common sense is stupid.
Well, common sense that this world didn't make itself. It didn't just out of nowhere.
Common sense to kill cats because cats were like of the devil and like causing illness or whatnot and like witchcraft and stuff. Which you know what that led to? That led to the plagues because there were more rats spreading disease.
So what's wrong with any of that?
I'm saying common sense.
And your atheistic
isn't
worldview.
accurate.
But
Common sense means nothing.
well,
compared to
I know America thinks that because America's throwing its common sense down the toilet.
I just explained common sense to you and how that doesn't work.
But you're denying it. You're denying the obvious. Yeah, we all have. There's a creator behind the
You say that
creation.
it was common sense to kill cats, which therefore caused the plague.
No, I'm talking about the common sense that we didn't just all evolve from cosmic goo or
I didn't claim that we.
I didn't say you said that, but
Okay.
but that we all had a maker. Like, you don't have all this intelligent design without an intelligent designer.
I disagree that it's intelligent.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, evolution-wise, there are tons of things that are not intelligent at all. Like, actually,
Like human life in America?
well, you know how people.
So many people in this country are very intelligent. Couldn't think their way out of a paper bag.
Well, yeah, but that's all. Same thing with cats and dogs, you know. But you know how people argue about the human eye and how it's like so complex.
Yeah, Darwin
like,
couldn't even explain it. If you read his writings, he couldn't explain
well,
it.
Darwin may not, but if you look at octopi eyes and many different other eyes from other species, they are much more intricate than ours. And yeah, and some of them they don't like. Some of them are also terrible, and that's because evolution does not have intelligence. It just does what it does. Why do we not have tails anymore? Why do we have weird flaps in our ears? Why do we have different eye colors when the eye color brown adjusts way more to light than blue eyes do? Why is it that we have a bird that has like the natural instinct of a rock and literally dies like to the point where people think it should be extinct, but it reproduces to the point where it isn't. Like,
What question? What's your name?
My name's Dee.
D?
D, just the letter. Yeah.
I'm Armando. Nice to meet you. Okay, I've got a pretty easy question. I would think it was easy.
You both come a little closer because I can barely hear you from over here.
It's like, what do you think happens after you die? Like, I mean, this is not like I'm not gonna spew to you or anything, but I just want to like hear what you think.
I don't know the answer, but here's the thing.
Yeah.
We don't have evidence of a soul, as far as I can tell. No one can point to me where a soul is. And psychology-wise, most of the things that link us to being us is in our brains. Our memories, our personalities in the frontal lobe. So, essentially, if our brain stops functioning, we can't perceive anything. So I don't know what happens when we die, but I'm not sure that there's no proof that we get like a separate vessel to experience. So we just stop experiencing, as far as I can tell.
Okay.
Like
so
how
you just think it just goes like straight black, and there's nothing.
Not black exactly. You know how like there's blind people who can't like they literally can't see to the point where they can't even tell what black is.
Yeah. So you think it's just like nothingness after? Like nothingness?
Yeah, because you can't feel, you can't smell, you can't taste, you can't see, you can't think, because you don't have a brain. So as far as I can tell, because there's no evidence prior to that, we basically cease to experience.
Yeah. So what do you think about like? If I just asked you like, what would you think about Christianity? If just as a whole, what do you think about Christianity?
I actually am ex-Catholic.
Okay.
So my family's Catholic, except for my mom, my dad, and my brother. And as far as I see, I don't hate religion.
Yeah.
I have friends who do witchcraft. I just dislike when there's a group that's cherry picking things and has so many different variations, and then it leads to people thinking things that can lead to dangerous situations. Like, it's not just Christianity. There's a million organizations.
So to that, like let's say like Islam, you know, Islam is Prophet Muhammad and stuff.
Yeah.
You already gave me them.
Okay.
So do you think
Be sure to read them.
Be true?
I don't know.
Or would you say like none of them are true? Like let's say like Hinduism, Buddhism, Christianity, and Islam. Do you think all four of them could be true, or do you think like are you just fine on like none of them being true?
I'm fine on none of them being, like, personally, I don't think I'd live my life any differently if I found out that one of them was true, one of them wasn't true. But as long as I don't have, like, I need evidence.
Yeah, why would you think you wouldn't live your life differently? Like, let's say like Jesus came down and he's like, yes, like I am fully real, I'm right here in front of you. And like, let's say he comes back to the apostles and like they can't believe he's real, and like they feel his hand, they feel the blood. Let's say you like did something similar to you. Would you change, or would you think you'd still be like, no, this isn't true?
I would believe, but the difference is it depends on the truth that comes from it. If it turns out that the God from the Bible, as I see the Bible like on its face, then I'm not going to find that God moral. But if that